Welcome to our cafes for September 2022. We are excited to have you here. My name is John Epps. I'm the Executive Director for We Are One United. We Are One was founded in December 2020, and we believe that communities that work together can overcome obstacles and really make a difference. They can make their communities safer and better places to raise their families. We support these communities with about 40 years of experience and strategies, training, and resources that we can use to help create jobs, get access to technology and services, and form partnerships that allow us to actually help them shape their futures in innovative ways. As social entrepreneurs, we build programs that endure and grow, help everyone get their share of the benefits from their share in the work. And so welcome to our virtual cafes. These cafes offer us an opportunity to both share and gather valuable information with the communities that work with us. We believe that working together, we can turn ideas into actions. And so we hope you will join us each week when we look at different topics, including mental health, youth development, community improvement, and jobs, careers, and building better businesses so that we all share in the wealth. We will bring guests from all over the Inland Empire and beyond to help us in our journey. In addition to the cafes, We Are One United also will be hosting focus groups to identify and address specific priorities, including housing, healthcare, debt, violence reduction. Through these conversations, we will work with academic, business, and governmental partners to help communities, as well as with community-based and faith-based organizations. We want to help everyone better identify the specific priorities that they feel are important to changing their communities. And we want to work together to go through how do we address each and every one of these challenges. Tonight, I am pleased and just very excited to be with you on one of our first mental health activities. And we have a special guest. I cannot say enough about how important I think this topic is. Tonight, we're going to talk about how do we de-escalate suicidal thoughts. And we have our special guest tonight, Miss LaKenya Pitchford. And so I want to tell you a little bit about Miss Pitchford before we get started. Now, I had the good fortune to actually meet Miss Pitchford in 2013, 2014. I've known her for almost 9 years now. And most recently, she worked with the Center for Independent Life as a systems change advocate. But as I understand it, she has now made a change in her career. And so I'm gonna ask her to talk about that a little bit. But one of the things that I wanted to say is that Ms. Pitchford has this creative energy about her. And one of the things that has allowed her to do is to look beyond what many of us would see as limiting circumstances to actually see the world in a completely different way. And she is one of the most independent, hardworking, and compassionate people that I've ever met. So I think we are in good hands for tonight's topic. I would really like to see her just help us understand how we can be helpful in our communities in really saving lives. And so without any further ado, I would like to introduce to you Miss LaKenya Pitchford. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Epps. It's good to see you.
Well, it's good to be here.
Thanks everyone for allowing me to be in your space today. Thank you for that gracious introduction as well, Mr. Epps. I'm just overwhelmed and excited to bring this topic, even though it's good to see you guys, but mental health and suicide is such a serious topic, and I don't want to, have that, all enthusiastic thing, but still be in the mode of a seriousness. But it's good to be on this platform tonight.
Okay. Well, I understand you just made a recent move. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
I did. I have, when you say a change of careers, I'm actually still in the independent living network. I am working for DC Center for Independent Living, but my job title has changed from systems change in the center in California to an independent living specialist here in DC. I still do a little bit of advocacy, but I, as an independent living specialist, I kind of wrote everything and all in one. So I help people look for housing, I help people in the community, along with the advocacy part. So I'm also helping a newly kind of like a 2-year-old family business, doing AT services for their company with individuals with intellectual disabilities and developmental disabilities. And so I do a little assessing of assistive technology and helping them do their quarterly report to the Department of Disabled Services. So that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing.
Thank you. Well, can you tell me what made you want to talk about suicide prevention on our program tonight?
Well, I think suicide prevention is so important, especially now in the days that we're living in now. And it's such a subject that a lot of people steer away from or don't talk about enough. So it's important for me to share this information with you so you guys can share that information with your community.
Now, I understand you're a certified mental health first aid instructor. Tell me what that means.
Yes, so just a little background with mental health first aid. So I'm certified through the National Council of Mental Wellbeing. I think it used to be behavioral health, they changed the name. And so I was trained under their national instructors. And so they, because of the growing number or the importance of mental health, years ago, they built this curriculum for mental health first aid. They chose to call it that, like CPR. If you've ever taken CPR, there's steps to prevent or to help someone start their breathing or their heart. So instead of the physical health of a person, it's the mental health of a person. So that's what they call it, first aid. And so I was granted a scholarship last year through the Service Center for Independent Life to do the training as a mental health first aid. And the reason why I was so interested in it, because our center was actually put into the training. So all of our staff had the training. Someone came in to do the mental health training for us. And I felt like, wow, this is so important, because I work with people with disabilities, and this is not just one particular type of disability, it's all disabilities, including mental health. So me as a person who is giving services to others and having consumers who have multiple disabilities, including mental health disorders, I felt that to be more effective. That chance came up and I was right on it. I'm like, yes, please. my boss like, hey, you want to do it? There's a scholarship, sure enough, because I like, hey, if they're paying for it, I was able to apply for it and get it. And I was certified last September. So this year, September 21st will be my 1-year anniversary as a certified mental health first aid instructor.
Well, congratulations. That's great. That's great. So tell me, what are some of the obstacles that you run into when you try to have conversations like this about mental health and suicide?
Well, I can share the things that I saw, especially when I did my first training.
Okay.
Because these are people who are in the community, these are community leaders, and the wow factor, I didn't know, I didn't even think about this. All these responses that came during my instruction was, it's good that they're learning, but this is so needed because there's a lot of people in our community who's working with the community. We're talking about community leaders and, advocates and all kinds of people that's working with the people in our community that have no idea of how mental health, how to even know the signs, and this is not just suicide, it's just mental health, period. Knowing the signs and the early signs and stuff like that. And the takeaway was like, wow, I really need to reach out to a lot more of the communities, the leaders, to help them be more effective leaders as they interact with people in the community, because you never know who you're going to come across with. Because like I was sharing with, I'm gonna say mom because she is mom. I'm gonna call her by her first name. I was just sharing with my mom that a lot of times people don't understand that a mental health challenge is different from someone suffering from actual mental disorder. Everyone goes through a mental health challenge. And I believe that sometimes in our community, we steer away from that. And it's really needed. So the things that I've seen is like, wow, we really need to get into some training. We need to get into some work that will help people be more equipped.
Well, could you help us begin to understand what are some of the things that we ought to be trying to look for, and what are some of the steps that you think we need to take so that we get better at this?
Well, I'm glad you asked. As a mental health first aid instructor, it is important. I can do the training, even if it's not me. Training, getting the information, it's important. And as a mental health first aid, their curriculum train others to be mental health first aiders. So the curriculum is geared toward equipping the person to recognize how to interact with a person who is experiencing a mental challenge and crisis, i.e. suicide. So training. And mental health first aid is one of those type of training that will equip and help people in the community get the information they need. And it could be other avenues as well, but I'm just gonna in my mental health first aid training out there as one of the sources.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So tell us some steps we should start taking.
Well, for one, I think research, knowing your community is super important. And specifically for me, because I work with people with disabilities. And I know your demographics, your target audience might be different. It could be a mix. You might come across someone with a disability, a mental health disability or otherwise, but that was my target. So I had to learn, my audience. So learning your audience is the first step. The second step is getting some professional training. Sometimes it's good to Google, It's good to Google, and that's all fine and dandy. But you know, having a professional or having someone that's you know, that does this, you know, in the community, I think will benefit. So that's another step. Um, and one, as you learn and as you gather information, is learning how to interact. And I think that's what you would get in your training as well, is how to interact with people who are experiencing suicidal thoughts or some type of crisis.
Okay.
That's really important, because sometimes it's not like talking to your family member. It's different. It's different. And what we should not do, well, I can talk like that to my cousin, or is not, it is not the same. You can't just do that with a person that you see in the community.
What should we do instead?
Well, for one, I'm gonna pull up this. I'm gonna give you some pointers.
Thank you.
Just bear with me as a disclosure. I am a person with a disability. I am visually impaired. So just give me a moment. So first, what you need to do, I'm going to say what not to do. So this is, well, de-escalating the situation. So this can go across the mental health span. Not only someone experiencing suicidal thoughts or some type of crisis, but also those that are experiencing just mental health challenges. So de-escalation, speak slowly and confidently with a gentle, caring tone of voice. So this is important. So these are some steps. So as you research, or as you you know, get the information you need to know how to interact with people in your community who are experiencing mental health, this is one first thing you need to do, is speak slowly and confident. In order for you to be confident, you need to know your stuff. In order for you to be confident, you need to get the information that you know to know how to approach and speak to someone who is experiencing a mental challenge or crisis. Do not argue or challenge the person. And that's important. So someone who is experiencing a crisis, you don't want to sit there and have an argument with them or challenge that person. You want to de-escalate, not escalate the issue or escalate the problem. Do not threaten. Do not raise your voice or talk fast. You want to be calm. You want for them to understand what you're saying. So having that, because people can feel your vibe, you know, people can feel you. So if you're talking fast, if you're raising your voice, you're not de-escalating. If you're talking fast, you're really not listening to them. And that's important. Use positive words instead of negative words. Stay calm and avoid nervous behaviors. You don't want to trigger, want to escalate anything, so you want to always stay calm. Try to be aware of what may increase the person's fear and agitation. So this only comes by listening to them. You want to build a safe space for them. You want to give them a place where they can feel freely to talk. And when they're feeling freely to talk, then you can listen, and then you can listen, you'll know what are they feeling, why are they agitated. And lastly, pause if needed during a conversation. Give them a time to process what you said. Give yourself some time to process what they said. I love the analogy that our training gave us about a duck on the pond. So if you ever saw a picture or a movie or something, a duck in the pond, or even in person, a duck in the pond, and you know how a duck is just, they seem to glide on the surface of the water, but at the bottom, they're paddling in their feet. You don't see them paddling in their feet, but they are. So you should be like that duck. You should be calm on the outside, just floating on the water. But internally, you're paddling really fast. You're thinking what to do next. As you gathering information, you're not externally paddling on the outside because you don't want nervous behavior. You don't want all this outrageous stuff, but you want to appear like that duck on the surface. You want to be calm and then have that internal paddling hard because you're thinking about what can I do? What actions that do I need to take next to help this individual?
Well, I heard you say, be calm, be confident, but, there's a tendency, to get caught up in the emotion along with everybody else. So what are some of the things that you think we can do to build up our confidence and, stay calm?
I think one, we have to take care of ourselves first off, because in this whole curriculum and what I share with people is self-care. And they always say in our training as a National Council on Mental Wellbeing, their thing is, hey, if you don't take care of yourself, first off, you're not going to be calm. You're not going to be confident. So if you have a self-care plan, do it. If you don't have a self-care plan, get one, because I think that's the start of you. When you come across someone who is having that challenge, automatically we as human beings gonna feel like, oh my God, that's just human nature, when you come across someone that's, but if you have the coping skill of and the self-care that you've been doing and practicing, you would know, okay, let's stay calm. Because on the inside, you're like that duck, you can still paddle. You internally, you freaking out. That's being human. But on the outside, if you practice that, then you will come across calm and confident. If you don't take care of yourself, if you don't know how to cope with stress yourself, if you don't know how to cope with anxiety yourself, or going through some mental challenges yourself, there's no way you're going to be as calm and confident when you're talking to someone who is experiencing the same thing you probably experienced or more, someone who's just going through a challenge. So the first thing I would do is take care of yourself. Get a self-care plan. I preach that wholeheartedly, self-care plan, because everybody tell you, if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of others. But to be perfectly honest, that is so true. And this more than I'm just going to take some time out today. No, a self-care plan it's a plan that you do every single day.
So give me an example of what might be some things in someone's self-care plan that they can use.
Right. So depending on who you are, there's some examples of exercise, yoga, meditation, reading a book, going for a walk. Each self-care plans for someone is going to be different across the board, because Mr. Epps, your self-care plan is going to be different than my self-care plan. So these are the things that calms you when you're in such a, you know what I mean? So what calms you might not calm another. So your plan might be different. So carving out time in a day. Every one of us on this line have such busy days. I can tell, because first I know you, Mr. X, so people have long days, people are interacting with people all the time. And if you go to sleep and your mind is still thinking about, it's all because I do it. I know everybody's mind is going 1,000 miles a minute before they hit the bed. but you haven't done anything that day to really put yourself back into this like a balance, to put yourself back in like a neutral sense, to like calm yourself or like to release everything that's gone on for that day. And so that's having a plan. So it might be different each and every day, and that's fine because every day is different. So one day you might have carve out your self-care, and I'm gonna spend 20 minutes, 30 minutes just having nothing on, turn the TV off, no computer, no cell phone. I'm not just gonna sit in my comfortable chair and close my eyes and kind of just like release every tension, relax your muscle. That's part of self-care. And the smallest thing is not really the smallest thing. It's your self-care. So it's what's make you better, so that's a part of that. It's and sometimes it's not just it's physical, it's spiritual, it's emotional. Those are type of things you probably want to put in your self-care too.
Now, if I hear you correctly, if those self-care things work for me, I guess one of the things when I'm having this conversation I might want to do is the person I'm talking to, as they're trying to de-escalate. Now, do I want to start talking about that with them as well?
You can, but it'll be a suggestion. It's not something you tell them, well, I think you should do this. I think you should give examples and whatever click in their head, because everyone's gonna, as I give examples and they're like, oh, well, I do like to read. You know what I mean? And they never thought of reading to be a self-care tool. You know what I mean? So as you talk to them, as you want to de-escalate, you're calm, then you're going to calm them because you're calm. And giving them suggestions of how to help them cope. And that's sharing. He's like, you can say, hey, this is what I do for self-care, but here's some more examples. And then let them decide for themselves what self-care would help them the most.
That's really good. That's good. That's good. Well, what about when I feel my stress building up either at work or at home? What are some of the things that I need to be doing so that I don't reach this place of frustration?
Yeah, so if you're at work, one thing, first off, practice self-care automatically. Okay, so if you get to the place of a little bit of stress, and I'm not saying that no one's not gonna feel stressed when they're doing self-care. I'm not saying that, but it'll help when you get to that point of stress, because since you've been practicing your self-care, once you get to that point when you're feeling, hey, I'm a little anxious, I'm a little stressed, now what to do to de-escalate yourself. You know what I mean? Because you've been practicing all along. So if you're in a stressful situation at work, it's okay to, let me take a moment, let me step back. If one of those things is like, let me breathe in and out, breathe. Because sometimes, you're at work and certain things is not appropriate. You know what I mean? You don't want to just, depend on where you work. You know what I mean? Sometimes you can just go out, take a walk, in your, whatever your environment is, if you have that freedom. Sometimes if you're not, and you in a meeting and people are just rubbing you wrong, and it's just like hey, take a deep breath. Give me 5 minutes. Let's take a break and have that breathing kind of technique if that's your way. You know what I mean? Sometimes people, we carry phones all the time, and music is one of my blessed thing of self-care when I'm feeling a little stressed. So I turn on inspirational music. I listen to it all the time, but there's certain type of music that I listen to when I'm feeling a little overwhelmed. So sometimes just taking that moment and you put it on your earphones or whatever and listen to some music, calming you, breathing. You definitely want to breathe. You definitely want to breathe through it. So if you're just to reiterate, if you're practicing self-care, you would know when your stress levels start before you get to that 10,000. you know what to do. If you're not practicing self-care, it's going to take you a little bit longer to de-escalate yourself. But I encourage you to just take a step back. If you're feeling a little stressed out, take a step back to ask yourself, okay, so what's my coping? What makes me feel better? How do I soothe myself? That's what you're doing. How do I keep myself from getting to a point of 9,000, 10,000? So stepping back and taking breathers.
Okay. So now what are some of the signs if we're working with others, if we're working with someone, or if we're talking to someone, what are a few of the signs that you think is really important for us to look out for?
Yes. So some of the signs to look out for. So if you approach someone, or if you're talking to someone or come across someone who is talking or writing about death, or dying or suicide, or suicide, that's a warning sign. Threatening to hurt or kill themselves, of course, that's an obvious warning sign. If you hear anything of that language, looking for ways to kill themselves, seeking access to the means, it's a warning sign. Showing anxiety or agitation. Now, sometimes all of this can couple with warning signs together. So you have to just be very observant and see and know that person, because someone who is showing anxiety doesn't necessarily mean that they're suicidal, but coupled with other things might. They could have a a mental challenge at that moment and anxiety. And so it's you're not gonna just jump on someone and just ask. It's good to ask someone, definitely. And a lot of people don't, but it's healthy. If you feel that that person is suicidal, it's okay to ask them, are you suicidal? Do you want to kill yourself? And a lot of people, they think it's taboo in the community. That's why people don't, suicide is a hard thing to talk about, because people don't want to ask someone, are you suicidal? But it's a question that needs to be asked. So being unable to sleep or sleeping all the time, these are some of the signs, and some of the things will couple with other stuff. Feeling no reason for living, nor sense of purpose of life. Feeling trapped, like there is no way out. Thinking there is no safe way, a safe way out of a bad situation. So thinking there is no safe way out of a bad situation. So these type of thought patterns can be a warning sign of suicide. Mr. Epps, I do want to dispel something about suicide that a lot of us do. And that is the language around suicide. So if you're talking to someone, when you ask the question, because it's okay to ask. A lot of people want you to ask that question. Are you thinking about suicide? Are you thinking about killing yourself? Do not say, and I want you to take this out of your vocabulary. Do not say successfully commit suicide or commit suicide. Or are you thinking about committing suicide? We as a mental health arena do not use the word committed. It's like committing adultery or committing sin no, we don't. It's died by suicide, or are you thinking about killing yourself? So we as a culture, we say, are you thinking about committing suicide? Or if someone had died by suicide, they say, our cultures usually say committed suicide. But as we learn more about mental health and learn more about suicide, don't use the word condemn. So I just want to put that out there, to encourage people, to educate people, not to use that language.
Thank you. Now, are there other groups that if we see somebody who's in trouble, and maybe we don't know exactly what to do, are there other groups that you recommend in our community that we might direct people to?
Yes, there's several mental health organizations, NAMI, there's
Upline,
Tri-City, there's probably other, and that's another thing that that doing your research will help as you think about how to equip yourself, is getting resources. A lot of times people don't know what's out there, but you as the trusted person in the community should have resources available in the event, because as mental health first aid, I would say first aiders, the people that I train to become mental health first aiders, I always tell them, you're not a psychiatrist. You're not, even you as helping other people in the community, you're not a psychiatrist, unless you are. I'm not, this put that disclaimer. But if you're not certified as that kind of professional, don't try to diagnose someone. Don't try to fix, go ahead and have a counseling session. Don't do that, because you're not certified. That's beyond your scope. But as a mental health aider, as a person in the community who's that trusted person, and that when people will come to you, you want to have their resources available. So if you're interacting with someone who, experiencing a mental health challenge or suicidal thoughts, you want to have that handy. You want to have that suicidal hotline handy. You want to have those mental health resources handy for them to give to them right now. Not, and this is what I always tell people too in our training. Don't tell them wait till tomorrow, or if someone's approaching you for help, you brush them off. Don't do that, because you can be that chance, that hope, that gleam of light for someone in a crisis. So if you brush them off, that could be, you know what I mean, that the cattle that broke the
that was fun.
whatever that saying is, so you want to be available. You want to have that resources with them, because sometimes we're not professionals, and we are that listening ear. We are that soundboard for them, but we also want that resources for them to say, hey, I think you should hear some resources on mental health services. Here are some hotlines you can call for that professional people can walk you through this process. Definitely have resources.
That's good. That's good. Well, before we go too much further, I just want to check, is there anyone who's in our audience who might want to ask any questions?
I have a question. As you were talking about having the resources available and not brushing people off that are in crisis, is it ever appropriate for me as the aider to make the call?
Yes. And I just want to tell everyone that Diane is a mental health first aider. She went through one of my classes. As an aider, or as anyone for that matter, who is interacting with someone, it's if something in your interaction tells you need to call for help, you need to call for help. Don't ever think that you can fix it. Don't ever think that you can, because sometimes you can do all the de-escalating, you can talk calm, be confident, don't use positive words, but you can't control the person's behavior or anything like that. So if you feel that you're not safe and that person's not safe, call for help. immediately.
Thank you.
Call ambulance, the police, call for help immediately.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yes, I have a question. My question is, based on your experience and working with these kind of groups of people, is there a number of like race, age, profession, or religion that are high in committing suicide?
Okay, I didn't get can somebody revoice it? Because
Yeah, the question is, does it seem that there are particular groups of people, religion, age, sex, that are more likely to be prone to suicide?
not in my experience. However, young people, suicide is one of the highest rate of death in the country. And that's among adolescent ages through early adulthood. But it's cross ethnicity, it's cross religion, demographics. So, however, it's really important to note that certain groups of people sometimes don't pursue mental services, like African American people don't pursue mental services sometimes because it's such a taboo, or it's such a thing that either their culture or what they've been raised on, stuff like that. So as we help the community, we want to encourage them to get help. It's okay to get help. It's okay to talk about your feelings. And a lot of times other cultures don't have that way of living to talk about your feelings. So a lot of times you get that mental challenge, you know what I mean, or suicidal thoughts because people hold in a lot, or people don't talk about what they're feeling at all.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions? Well, I want to say first and foremost, before we go, is there anything else that you feel would be important for us to know before we wind down our time together tonight?
I do want to mention how to approach, just giving y'all a freebie of the mental health first aid. In our way of teaching people how to interact with people who are experiencing, because we go from early signs, we go from worsening signs, and then to crisis. So each stage has certain ways that you will approach a person. And the one thing we use is in this method is ALGE, and that's the ALGEE. And that's the A stands for assess. And I'm giving you this as a freebie instead of taking the course. So this is one for you. So if you want to write this down, it's good info. So the A stands for assess and approach. Okay, so a lot of times you will approach someone based on what you see, right? Or based on what you're hearing around, whatever, you will approach the person. If someone approach you, now you're going into this assess mode. What's going on? Okay, so the A is approach and assess. The L is listening non-judgmentally. So as how the interaction started, now you as the trusted person gonna listen to their feelings, listen to what they got to say non-judgmentally. You're gonna listen, and I think a lot of us know what it means to listen. So L is listen non-judgmentally. The G in ALGE is give assurance and information. So that's resource. I mean, that's that resources and information I talked to you about So as you assess the whole situation and approach, you listen non-judgmentally. Now you're gonna give reassurance and information. Hey, I understand what you're going through, whatever, but please don't be condescending. You want to be empathetic. So you want to have the information with you. If you have it in your head, that's fine, because it depends on where you are. Somebody can approach you at any time. So if you have that in your head, that's good. If you keep a little card with you or something like that with the information on it to give them, that's fine too. So G is to give reassurance and information. The first E is, oh my Lord, I just left my brain. Encouragement. Okay, so you want to encourage them to seek out help. Okay, very important. And then the last one is encourage self-care. Okay, so that's the last E, ALGEE.
What is the last E again, please?
Encourage self-care.
Self-care, okay.
Self-help strategies.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Wonderful information.
Well, I don't know about anybody else, but this has been wonderful. I want to thank you. I want to, I always say, you don't just give enough, you give more than enough. So I want to let you know how much we truly appreciate you, your time, the fact that you are 3 hours ahead of us and feeling all of that. I want to close just by reminding people about the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. If you think you or someone else you know is at risk, trained counselors are available 24/7 on the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. The new number is 988. But if you don't have the new number and you still have something with the old number on it, it's 1-800-273-TALK, and that's 8255-TALK. And so please put that on a card somewhere, put it in your pocket. You never know when you're gonna run into somebody who is in crisis. You never know, as LaKenya just said, when you might be that lifeline that they need to get the help that they want. As the ED for We Are One United, we want to see the community become a safer, healthier place to live. I believe that what we learned tonight is a big step in the right direction. I want to again thank each and every one of you for coming tonight. I want to really, again, thank my team for putting this all together. This is not always easy to do, but these are the things I think that will help us to grow and to better serve the communities we work with. So again, on behalf of the team at We Are One United, we want to thank you, LaKenya, and say goodnight to everyone.